Thanks for tuning in to the Animal Control Report podcast, where we help debunk the dog catcher stereotype. A lot of times people think it's the dog catcher when they hear about animal control officers, but here on the Animal Control Report, we change that by taking you inside the day-to-day operations of animal control officers. Not only will you hear stories of animal control officers, but you'll hear from industry experts as well. We are also part of the Keep It Humane podcast network. We have some amazing partners there, so check them out at keepithumane.com/podcast network. You can listen to all the animal control and animal welfare related podcasts there, and let's continue to help people help animals.
You are tuned in to another episode of the Animal Control Report with your hosts,
Ashley Bishop.
And Ashley, nope, she's not here, and Daniel Ettinger. It's just the one Ashley Bishop and Daniel Ettinger show today. Good morning.
Good morning. She decided to leave us alone. So
Yeah, she was on, I don't want to say deployment, but she was helping out with a major organization, which was really cool. So shout out to her doing all the hard work.
And all the cool things. I'm jealous.
Well, we get to sit back and be sick like me. Check out keepithumane.com. Also check out our socials, Keep It Humane and the Animal Control Report. Also, please don't forget, you have just a few days left, like 2 weeks to get your nominations in for ACO and Agency of the Year. Those awards are going to be announced January 5th on our first episode back from our little break over the holidays. So we're excited to share who becomes the 2024 representatives of our profession. Again, there's nothing to do other than go on our website, keepithumane.com/awards, fill it out, and then they'll be reviewed and the winner will be picked thanks to the help of ChatGPT. Just kidding. That would be actually interesting if we put them all in there and just said, like, who do you think is the most deserving? And then it would come up with like 13-page essay on why and who. So if you've ever used it before, it's actually kind of fun.
It is to see what kind of responses you get for things. It's quite helpful in certain situations, to be honest. If you hit a slump in like writing something, it helps.
I love it too. I just wanted to review my work. I'm just like, tell me, I love to do this. If you've never done this before, write up something, whether it's an email or a report, I don't know, whatever you write, and then put it in there and just say, do not suggest any changes. Just give me a letter grade on this writing, and it'll come back like A-. And it's so hard for it to be like, for it to not offer some sort of suggestion, because it always has to have that unsolicited advice. So it reminds me a little of myself. Just saying.
Well, it helps you go from, because I know my supervisor used to get after me all the time because I was still in the college mode of things. Okay. He's like, you don't have to do all of this. He's like, you need to take it from your like 3 pages to half a page. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I've been trained the other way.
I had an officer that I worked with at one point, just was so adamant that you had to double space everything after a sentence. Now, what I didn't know is that comes from the old typewriter. Now, all kids that are listening to the show today, a typewriter was a thing before a computer or a cell phone. What it was is you took a piece of paper and you put it in this thing and you rolled it. And then you went in there and went, and then the double space came from typewriters. And I don't actually know why there was a reason that they did that, though.
I'm sure it's something ridiculous in academia that was a thing at the time.
Yeah. Stupid English language. Also, I want to know who came up with the keyboard and how they decided on the algorithm. I bet you there was more thought into the algorithm of where to put the keys than there was the no-kill 90% live release rate. I'm just going to say that right out the gate. There was probably much more data and analytical research done on where to put the keys, ASDF, JKL, SEM, space, versus, oh yeah, let's just make it 90%. I want to segue into that, though, because of our topic today, which is, self-care and compassion fatigue, or compassion fatigue and self-care. And I think it's really important that we just take a quick second to recognize all the hard work that you do. We also just lost an ACO to suicide That's sad to talk about. Drury Kyle Daly, and just want to take a quick second to have a moment of silence for him. He was a Texas ACO and just sounded like a wonderful, wonderful guy. And I, I as I read through it and see some of the posts from our friends in Texas, super sad that um, that he was, dealing with whatever it was. And we've had our friends, the humane educators of Texas, Tabitha and Kelly on. They have humane help down there in Texas. And sometimes we don't know what's going on. And we want to make sure that that we're always here. I'm grateful for the emails, the messages that I get from people. I'm always happy to lend an ear. I talk about the actuals of compassion fatigue quite a bit. I'm a proponent of self-care and therapy. I think we grew up in a time, and now I'm old enough, and I can't speak for our listeners. I'm old enough to know that the generation just before me, like no man, the generation before me will sit here in front of you and say that you should go to therapy. Therapy is actually good. Like they don't see it as a benefit. Whereas I'm like, nah, man, like having a professional, somebody there that can provide care, is super important. And so, shout out to everyone that showed up to his memorial there in Texas, just a few days ago, and our hearts with his family and his friends, his former coworkers, etc. It's a tough time for all of them.
Yeah, it was really cool to see, all of the trucks and everything like that out. If you're in Texas and a member of TACA, they posted it on their Facebook page, and it was just great to see overall. And, you know, to go off of what Dan said, I don't disagree. In my culture itself, it's still very much, you deal with it and that's it. You are just supposed to be quiet and keep doing what you're doing. And if you hit adversity, sorry, excuse me, you just deal with it. And, I now as a supervisor, I start feeling it a lot more now, than anything, trying to carry the team as much as I can. I'm only one person and I'm going through some compassion fatigue training, with Bissell right now. And it's opening a lot of doors that I didn't think I needed to open. Um, and it's kind of helping me really realize to be very productive with my time. I'm not gonna lie, here in the last probably 8 or so months, I've been real dumpy. It's what I've been telling my husband.
Y'all should see
It's
the
just
text messages we be getting. The same. I'm kidding.
I'm very much a half glass full, most of the time. I find it very hard to see the good in things sometimes. But here in the last couple of weeks, I've been journaling a lot, and it's been helping just to kind of, put it on paper and realize, I need to get back to the stuff that I love and the crafting and all that stuff, because literally, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I literally come home, shower, and get in bed. That is it. That is what I do. And a lot of it's just dealing with everything. And, I got a sick pup right now too, so that doesn't help. So it's just reach out to your friends, even if it's just checking in on them and not really saying, yo, bro, I need help or something. Like, just make sure you're keeping in the loop with everybody, regardless. Or your spouses, my spouse is going through a lot too at work. So just make sure you're reaching out and use your time wisely. Don't just come home and do what I do. 'Cause it doesn't help.
I really appreciate you sharing that. And one thing I want to add is we normalize the behavior. And what's even worse in our profession, so whether you're in the kennels, whether you're an officer, whether you're in administrative duties in animal welfare, I've had this conversation with several staff members, and I've had this conversation, which first and foremost, I'm just absolutely grateful for the opportunities that I continue to get. I'll be honest about that. I'm sure there's some people that know me that aren't listening that would be shocked to know where I am today, just based on some past behaviors in this profession. And I'm not going to sit here and use compassion fatigue as a crutch. I will say that I made some poor choices in this profession in my early days, and some of it was absolutely motivated by compassion fatigue. And that maybe motivated is not the right word, but a byproduct of compassion fatigue. And what I will say is, it's helped me learn not only how to process and deal with the stressors that I have, but it's helped me as a supervisor, manager. I can't use words. I never understood the difference. What's the difference between a supervisor and a manager?
I don't know. I'm a supervisor too, and I always thought it
But you're a
was
manager.
always
You're your shelter director, aren't you?
no, because there's still somebody above me.
But
So
you run
there's
no in the shelter.
I
In the
in the
shelter, you're the
correct,
HNIC, right?
correct.
Okay.
But
So you're the
I'm
shelter director, but you're only a supervisor?
correct.
I'm
I am
so
known
confused.
I am known as a supervisor for animal services.
Okay. Well, you're still a shelter director. So, and then my role being in the manager. But what I want to say is what I found when I was just like not regular because we're all normal, but when I was an ACO, if I was having a bad day or got into this pattern of being cynical, okay, I would then be labeled as a bad employee. There was never check-ins from supervision to say, how are you? What's going on? Like, let's talk. Are you feeling okay? Do you understand? Do you even understand compassion fatigue? Do you know what it is? Never any of that. It was all, we need to performance manage this person. And it's so sad because I didn't learn about compassion fatigue probably until a few years in, truthfully. And one of the things that is on my agenda is when we have new hires is to teach them about compassion fatigue early so they can be prepared to recognize it. And so as I have gone through this career in life, I've utilized the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, which everyone listening should have. And then I have sought out my own individual counseling as well, as I feel that is extremely important. One of the things that we have to do as leadership is at least acknowledge. We can't force somebody to go and to EAP or to talk to somebody, but acknowledge, hey, are you okay? I had a conversation recently with someone, and I want to keep that, what's the word? I keep it anonymous. That's not the word I'm thinking of, but
Private.
But I will say that they've been in this industry for quite some time, 15 plus.
A lot.
And I had a conversation with them about behaviors that I noticed. And we were talking. And the response of thank you for checking in. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being aware of those feelings and emotions. That's never happened before. And knowing that it meant so much to that person means so much to me, because I feel like we're all human and we all deserve that. So as we continue to move forward in this profession, we have to be there for our peers. We have to be there for our friends and family and for people that we don't know. If any of you listening, and I've made some friendships through this podcast, to be honest, you know who you are. Excuse me. You know who you are. You can always reach out. I'm going to take the time and we'll have a conversation. I think it's important and I value every last one of you. And so know that you do have help and friends out there.
For sure. And I think it's creating a culture as well within your teams to ensure that you have the ability to call people out, in a sense of, hey, are you good? Like if you're not good, then, maybe we need to figure out why you're not good. And maybe we need to focus on, another task, or, you need to take a break from this, that, or take your PTO and use it. I think our culture is in a weird spot right now where there's a struggle between doing your job and not doing your job. And in the middle, I think compassion fatigue kind of gets stuck in between that, where people are assuming that because people aren't doing their job appropriately, it's just because they're lazy. But really, in reality, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. So it's important to realize all of that and not just bring down the hammer, ask what's going on, because you never know what somebody has going on at home.
Nope.
Or maybe there's something going on inside work that you're not seeing all the time. So just make sure that it's part of your culture. And I think our team really prides ourselves on that, because we tell everybody in our interviews, we're a huge dysfunctional family. Is what we tell everybody, because it's true. The job's already hard enough. And that's what, we're very honest in our interview process. The job's already hard enough. There's no reason for us to be fighting amongst each other when the industry itself is fighting against us.
Such a beautiful way to look at it too. And I learned this. So there were two, I don't know if they're just LCSWs. So LC, what does that stand for? Licensed something social worker, licensed certified social worker. No, something like that.
Licensed clinical social worker.
Bang, bang, bang. Something like that. Right. That makes sense, actually. Or if they're like psychologists or psychiatrists. But the two people that it imprinted on me early in my career that made me really realize how important compassion fatigue and understanding it were Dr. Jamie Brower. You can Google her. She has her own practice in Colorado. And then Dr. John Nicoletti. And I think Jamie worked for him early on in her career. Pretty sure she did. And then she went on her own. And she does a lot. They both are specific to law enforcement, but they both understood that animal control, animal shelters, animal welfare also dealt with similar compassion fatigue situations. Dr. Nicoletti is well known for his like intake on scenes of things like I think he might have been involved with law enforcement right out the bat from Columbine in 1999, which was, it was a huge thing in Colorado, in the world, not just Colorado.
Yeah.
For the students, and then law enforcement had never seen anything like that. And then as most recently as the mass shooting in Aurora during the Joker movie, he was on scene doing intake as well, and just talking to people. And so he talks about, I did a training with him maybe 3 years ago now. And he referred to what we see as like the book of the dead, where there's just certain pages that'll pop up. The wind blows a page of your book back open, and then you're stuck with that memory. You're triggered by it, whatever it may be. And I think what's important is to find that self-care, that way to kind of really deal with that stress. And as we talk about that, like, first and foremost, it's listening to your body. I tell people that all the time. Most of the time, in a situation where it's stressful, frustration, anger, you're actually going to feel it in your body first. It's just being tuned in or tapped into that. And then allow yourself, once you start to feel it, allow yourself to then say, wait a second, I'm about to do something or say something that I shouldn't do or say. I need to go take a walk. Or I just need to focus on my breathing, which sounds so simple, but it's such a true thing. Like, if you can focus on your breath before dealing with anything like that might be frustrating, it'll calm you down. There's things called, there's different, you can look at it, you can look it up, you can Google it. There's different ways to do it. There's what's called autogenic breathing, square breathing, tactical breathing, etc. And if you Google that, and I've given these tips to people a lot over my career, and it just allows you to take a deep breath, you hold it, then you exhale for a good period of time, and then you take another deep breath, hold it, exhale for a period of time, and then it'll lower your blood pressure. It'll get your anxiety down. It's true. Like, there's other methods and other ways to do it, but that is the most simplest technique when you're dealing with a situation that may be frustrating, maybe challenging, maybe stressful. That'll help you in that moment.
Or just cry. I'm an angry crier. When I get angry, I cry.
Really?
Oh yeah. When I get angry, I cry. I'm one of those people. So I just sit in my office and cry. I had a situation like that with somebody here recently, and I was like, just cry.
Uh-huh. I
And they
love
were
that.
just like, I don't like to cry. And I was like, just cry. I was like, if you're angry about it and you have no other release for it, just cry. I was like, I do it all the time. I'm just one of those people. I get angry or I get frustrated and I start crying. And it's just part of who I am. I've learned how to deal with it. I don't hold it in anymore. So, and I don't, and I'm very vulnerable in front of my staff as well. When I get frustrated on something or whatever, they have seen me in tears. I can't tell you how many times our team has seen me in tears, whether, just frustrated with the situation or I got something going on outside of work. I am human too. For all you supervisors and managers, you are human. You're not robots.
Mm.
Obviously set examples, but we can only function as well as our mental will allow us. So make
Yeah, I
sure
love that.
you're make sure that you allow yourself to be vulnerable as well, because we're people too.
And what's interesting when you talk about it, when the guys listening to this podcast hear that, they're like, well, I'm not going to cry. But that goes back to the same thing of what I was talking about in the beginning, like that mindset of you have to be tough and strong or you're not a man. Get out of here, man. I'm in tune with my emotions. And those of you that have been listening to the show for a long time, when we did um, an episode, probably like 10 episodes ago, about one of the cruelty cases with a dog that was beaten, sprayed with bear spray, etc. I was talking about it, and towards the end of the podcast, I talked about how when I was doing my research on that case again, it actually made me cry. That was one that frustrated me because the dog was so abused that the behavior of the animal was affected, and it caused us to have to euthanize it because we couldn't place it in a home where it would be safe. And it was so sad to think like it could never truly live a life without fear, without, that worry, that stress, because it's been exposed to this abuse. And sure, like is there some reprieve from the situation that it was in? Yeah, of course there is. Like we pulled it from there, but then it went to the shelter, and then it never got to like sleep on a bed with a kid, or you know go for a run at the beach. Can't say that word too loud because somebody will come running over here like, what? I know that place. Let's go. Um,
It'll
so
help your sickness.
I'm gonna go after the show. I think I got a project I'm working on, but then I'm gonna go, and so those things make you sad, and you just have to work through it. And then I think the good segue is we talk about what is self care for you. Like self care is not coming home after work and pouring yourself a two, as you say, a four finger glass full of the brown liquid or the clear liquid. And y'all listening know what the F I'm talking about. That is not self care. I'm not saying
No.
you can't have a drink, but if you think that coming home after work and doing a four finger shot of Jim Beam, or oh, you down in Texas, y'all be drinking that what y'all drink in Texas?
I'm a Jameson girl, so
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm a
Um,
Jameson girl.
what's the vodka from Texas though? I can't remember.
Tito's.
Yeah, y'all be drinking that Tito's. That was my
Oh.
shit when I was drinking though, for real, for real. Um, I never used it in that way. I did
Mm-mm.
use it to take like the edge off, maybe to veg out. I wasn't a huge drinker, um, but some of you know who I'm talking to, and like, does it feel good? Does it take it away? It numbs you. You know it does. Listening right now, if you're sober, you're like, yeah, that's me. But then tonight at the end of your shift, you're going to still do it. That's not the self care I'm talking about. Pick up a book, start a project, go for a damn hike in the nature, in the woods, go to the beach, take your dog to the dog park, uh, go flea market shopping. Go, you know what I like to do? I like to go to the thrift stores and just go hunting, see what you can find that's worth $83 and you pay $6 for. Like,
You're in the best place for that too. I'm
oh,
jealous.
dude, it's sick. It's sick. I love it. I'll be out here going to Storage Wars and stuff. I'm like, yep, $100 here. Yep, I'm buying storage units for
Same.
$1,600, and then being like, what did I just buy? And selling it all on Facebook Marketplace. The other thing, and here's where I struggle. I'll be honest. I'll keep it a buck. The older I got, the more introverted I became, and I don't have a sense of like needing or wanting like normal contact with friends on a day-to-day basis. And I don't mean it like from text messages. There's people that will go out every night, and maybe that's too much, but I'm telling y'all right now, I need to create an environment where I at least go do something. So like join a league, whether it's darts, whether it's bowling, whether it's pickleball, whether it's volleyball, because then you have that human interaction outside of work, and that's also going to lead to your self-care routine.
Agreed. I think for us, and it's so hard to, at least for
Say
me,
goodbye to
that
yesterday. Sorry.
for with work, honestly, it's hard to not talk shop with people. I know my husband and I struggle with it. You know, we talk a lot about work because it's something that we go through all the time. We're in very similar situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, and I agree, Dan. You know, I think even since I got married, I think it's gotten worse because I have my human, you know what I mean? Like you know, even though he's working a lot, like I have my best friend, my human all the time, but it's just like I notice, you know, with us working so much, you know, we are home a lot, we don't go out a lot when we used to, you know, but it's just everything after marriage, between buying the house and, you know, all the expenses we had with the house, trying to create a home has been a struggle. So like we're hermit crabs
Mm-hmm.
right now, and I'm hoping soon that we get out of this little funk, but you know, it's a struggle. Like I said, it's really a struggle, and it has been in the last couple of weeks. I'm just like, bro, I gotta get my ass off the couch, off the bed, like doing something. Like I just busted out all my clay stuff. I was messing around with
Love that.
my oven blade clay the other day or yesterday, and you know, I've been puzzling a lot too. That's something else that I've been getting into, and it's just, you know, having that switch flip
Mm-hmm.
where you realize like this is not healthy, bro. It's not healthy to come home, shower, and just get straight into bed. It's just not healthy.
But it is. It feels great to get in them sweatpants after that shower and
Hey,
just
I'm
lounge
not
it out.
lying. I'm not lying,
You
but
ain't.
when you're when you're in bed, like as soon as you get home at 5:30 until you go to bed at 9, like that's not healthy.
But at the same time, I think it is important to understand that as adults, it is more difficult to make new friends,
Yes.
especially, but it's recognizing what's your personality. Most people think because we have this podcast, I'm on this podcast, people know that I go around the country and speak and talk and do all those things. They think I'm just naturally an extrovert. Bro, I'll tell you what, the moment I'm done with a class, the first thing that I usually do is go back to my room, full suit, and just lay on my bed for like 40 minutes to just veg. I can't, like, I'm not a person like that. Maybe when I was like 20, like I could do that and be out in the clear, be doing all them things. But like, I am truly more of an introvert than most people would ever realize. But I get this label um, of being this extrovert or being this whatever it may be, being however you want to define it. And it's important that we understand and know where we are, where we line up. Because sure, I might not be that person that wants to go out every week, but it is healthy. And I'm trying to force myself, and I'm learning this through therapy, y'all, keeping it a buck. It is healthy to have a circle of friends that you can go out with, maybe a hike every once in a while. And what my therapist tells me, it's not just meeting women online, Daniel. It is actually like meeting same sex people that you can go like hang out with at, go to the watch a football game or, and I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's not just, and so I have to push myself out of that comfort zone because I'm in that comfort zone. So your self care, it is creating healthy patterns. It really is. Trying to put yourself out there. I'm gonna be doing a project today in front of my apartment, and I live in a very pretty like high traffic, foot traffic area. And so if somebody's asking me what I'm doing, I have to remember not to be like um closed off about it, like be open, welcoming, because you never know, that could lead to a friendship, something like that. But I've always been somewhat like close the door, and I don't mean it to be like arrogant or not even arrogant, just cold. Like I just I know I get into these modes where I'm like work mode, And when I say work, like I'm working on a hobby, I don't really have time for you, but it's important to pause and say, wait, no, like this is important to have a conversation with this person. And maybe there's some value. I've like even walking my dog, I met some cool people in the neighborhood so far. Like one that works for they like do something with music, like how they work on publishing, not publishing, but like distribution. So I thought that was pretty cool. You never know where that could lead. They could distribute the podcast. Let's go.
I think it's good too to like get outside of your work bubble, guys. I
Yeah.
know we struggle a lot with that, but it's just like, because we all know what happens. You go out with all your coworkers and stuff, and guess what? You're talking shop. That's all you do is talk shop.
Yeah.
So, you really got to think outside the box, or, make your work group, just okay, the first hour we're not talking shop,
Mm-hmm.
or something, because I know it's a habit for me, and work brings people together. And I think Dan brought up a good point. Of course, he's this extrovert and everything when he's talking about his passion and what he loves. And then you bring us outside of that, and it's like, who are we outside of work? And
Mm-hmm.
I was talking earlier, I've been struggling with this, what I feel me internally, this imposter syndrome of, everything going on at work, like, who am I? Like, who's this person? When I got that award from the university, I was like, who am I? Who is this person? What did I do to deserve any of this? And stuff like that. I have a huge internal struggle with myself, um, all the time. And I always have since I was a kid. Um, so, it's good to, as you get older or as you go on in life, to really open up and realize those things, because the moment that you internalize that is when problems can really ensue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so talk to your peeps, man.
Absolutely. Talk to your peeps. Know that there is support for you, and your family loves you. People love you. And man, we're here to help. We're here to help. I know you got a story though for us, right?
Yeah, we had a good story. Well, it's like medium story, but
No, that's
um
great. Well, we already know.
it's a good story. I mean, it's not great for the owner, but a good story
Okay.
overall.
Okay. Okay.
So we deal with a lot of things in the field with PD. Sometimes owners get arrested in their vehicles because of whatever. We had a dog in quarantine that we needed to be in quarantine, and the owner was on the way to put the dog in quarantine, and she got stopped for whatever reason.
Uh-oh.
And she got taken to jail, so we had to go pick up the dog and put it in a quarantine. And luckily, we have a great relationship with our local county jail. We're able to, if we need to go in and speak to an inmate, they allow us to do so. Or if we call and say, hey, we need to speak to the inmate for whatever reason. Well, we were struggling with this case because the dog cleared quarantine a few days ago, and like, no, all the numbers they were giving us, nobody was answering. This dog is not dog friendly, like to the point of being unsafe. But we were able to finally make a connection with somebody, and she had somebody call and came and picked up the dog for her.
Mm.
And it's always great to see, because this dog was nothing but sweet to people. She just probably wasn't going to be a good candidate for adoption, because there are not many people like us in the industry who can handle a dog like that.
Sure.
And it, it's a struggle to find homes for something like that. But I mean, the ACO that was on the case was just doing all the things to try to get this animal out, because at that we were getting full. I mean, I've had 4 or 5 dogs in quarantine here recently. It's been
Okay.
nuts. So we were able to get her out, and we finally found somebody to come pick her up. The owner was really happy. We were able to get her on the phone while she was sitting incarcerated. She was happy to speak with her dog over the phone. And so it was good. It was good to feel. Well, it's not good all around, it's good for the dog and is a positive outcome. So it's a good story.
I love those stories. And I think as the like on the backside of it, it's always that moment of like kind of a sense of relief, like a weight lifted off your shoulder kind of thing. And I think that's truly important to recognize that. Absolutely. I'm gonna, if I may, I'd like to share some audio of a case that we were involved in. Me and her name is, she's no longer currently an officer, but she was for a very long time. Officer Salter with Denver Animal Protection. We worked this case together. We also might have lived together, but that's another story for another episode. Uh, when we talk about separating work from home life balance, as you had talked about. Awesome. She's awesome, though. I ain't gonna front. All right, let me play this audio. Hang on. I'm not even going to set it up. I'm just going to play the audio and then I'll tell you what's going on. So hang on.
Let's do it.
My name is Daniel. I'm with Denver Animal Protection. Yeah, hello. Hey, your phone number's on a microchip that registers to a dog named Gracie. Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to let you know she's safe, a little skinny, but in our truck right now, and we'd like to get her home. Nope. I don't joke about stuff like this. Hey, Rachel. My name's Daniel. I just tried calling you. I'm with Denver Animal Protection. I have Gracie on my truck. She's safe. A little skinny, but she's safe and sound. Okay. Yeah. Save this number and then call me when you're there. We'll get her there safely to you. Okay.
So the moment that gentleman realizes that we have the dog, Gracie, you can hear it, the inflection in his voice, the emotion that comes through, his excitement, but his shock, his sadness and excitement kind of all in one kind of expression, if you will. Those are those moments that remind me how awesome our job is and how great that even if I have 73 days of bad, that one day right there makes it amazing. And so to give some backstory, Gracie went missing probably 6-7 weeks prior to that phone call. She was taken to work. She was somewhat just skittish, but a good dog, taken to work by the one person and got away. And work was probably a good 20 miles from where they lived. And so she was disoriented to her area. This is during COVID, so things were just different. And we got a call from a train conductor, like an engineer on the train, those guys,
On a
and he's like,
caboose?
the caboose?
Like on the train?
Yeah, my
on the
man
train?
drove the train. He was like a straight shout out to y'all train conductors if you're listening. That's a cool ass job. So he was like, "Hey, dude," I talked to him directly. I was the type of ACO. I was the type of ACO that literally called like 90% of my RPs. If I got a call, I'm calling you back just because no disrespect and shout out to our dispatchers, to your husband as well. I just want to talk to them directly. I just want to build that relationship before we, if I need them for anything else or just get some other information that may not have been asked by the disp, whatever it is. So I remember talking to the train conductor, and he just sounded so cool, calm, but genuine. My man was like, "Hey, I frequent this route. I was in Denver about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't think anything then. But when I saw her 2 weeks ago, I was like, maybe she just got lost and she's on the so it wasn't necessarily like a railroad track. It was where all the cars come in, freight cars, and they unload them. There's probably like 15 rails in
Like a train yard.
That's the word, train yard. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. And so he was like, last time I came into train yard, she was in here. So I was a little concerned, but not super concerned just because she could have just been a stray, running through. It's not abnormal that I see dogs out here. And he said, but I came back. And when I saw her, she even looked a little skinny. And I was concerned. And so I called you guys. I was like, thanks, man. That's really cool of you. He's like, I'm no longer in the Denver area. I've already taken off on my route, but she was by this culvert, etc. So we go out, me and Officer Salter, shout out. What up, girl? Sorry, stop. Stupid. We go out there and we try to get her, but we see her and she runs away. Not close enough where I could use my trusty lariat rope. So we bring out one of the humane box traps, large one for a dog, and bring that out, set it within an hour, I want to say. Within an hour, she was in the trap. Super duper great help from the all the people at the train yard. They directed us where we needed to go. They made sure we were safe because they got trains going 6 miles an hour everywhere you go.
It's always great when you get on scene with a situation like that and the people are actually helpful rather than not.
They were super cool. I'll never forget that. They because like when you're doing your duties, like for the most part, unless it's Area 51, like you can pretty much go anywhere and everywhere. Um, but we checked in. I was like, let's just check in. Like, let's make, build that relationship in case we need them for something else in the future, or like they could just maybe direct us to an easier path of how to get there. There was no easy path, man. We had to carry this large ass
Oh
dog trap
no.
like a lot far, far. But when she was trapped, we actually went in and they found a pathway that we could take our truck. So it helped out quite a bit to get her back. Like we got her out of the trap easy. We just walked her on a leash. She was good. And then yeah, like she was chipped. I remember
Don't we all love that moment though when that scanner's just like ding and you're like, yes.
Well,
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I know where you're going, but still.
Yeah. I'm always like, I'll get excited once I know that it's current, is registered, and you actually still own the dog. You ain't give it to somebody 3 months ago and forget their name, or it was just on Marketplace and you don't know who it is anymore. But yes, I feel you, girl. I feel you. So, we called the first number, it didn't answer, and there was 2 numbers on the chip. And I usually do a double call, and I don't know, the double call for those of you that are new is very important because most people don't answer numbers that they don't know. The double call is a call once, you don't answer them, a call right back, and then I'm going to leave you a text message. Hey, that way I'm annoying. Y'all know the ones that know me, I'm annoying, but you know what? It works. It works well, by the way. So I don't know if I double called her or went straight to number 2. But he answered, and I was like, my man, and his excitement, man. That's a story that'll sit with me for the rest of my career, just because I know that like we made an impact. And what was even cooler than just that is like as the weeks went on, we were getting updated text messages of Gracie back at the house. And I think it was just that same day too, we got one where because she had other dogs too, or they had other dogs, and like they were so excited to see her, they were like cuddling with her. I was like, man, if that doesn't warm your heart, I don't know what will. And so those are some of those moments that we have to the value of those are 10 times greater than the anger or frustration of the bad calls. We just allow those bad calls to have more value, and we shouldn't.
Amen. There are 3 other situations similar to yours where it's like dog's missing for 3 or 4 years. Owner comes in, dog recognizes the owner, and it's truly a sight to see, guys. It really is. If you haven't had that opportunity quite yet in your career, I don't know if I've mentioned this story in other episodes, but we had a dog all the way from Alabama end up in Brownsville, Texas. We ended up flying her back to her home. She hitched a ride with an 18-wheeler.
She got like you put her on the 18-wheeler or somebody put her on
No, somebody put her on an 18-wheeler because apparently their home was on a major highway. They had some acreage and things like that, and she was a blue heeler, and blue heelers be blue heelering.
They be blue heelering.
And she hopped a ride on with an 18-wheeler and somehow ended up in Brownsville, Texas. And we were able to, I think we hooked up with Pilots and Paws, I think. And they were able to get her back home. I have a picture of that somewhere on my Facebook. I'm sitting in the airport with her like this, with her head in my on my shoulder. So yeah, those moments come in few and far in between, but man, it's good when it happens.
It's great when it happens, and that's the stuff that I really try to champion in our profession is we have such a great ability to impact families more than most professions in the world. Like, sure, you can buy like a nice piece of jewelry and be happy. We're talking about putting people like in or putting families together. Like we literally bring families, reunite families, or bring new family members into family. Like it can't get much better than that. And we should never, ever forget that.
Amen.
Well, speaking of family, you're part of the Animal Control Report family. So we appreciate you being here in this. Has it been all 2024 or part of 2024? I don't have a brain.
For what?
For you being part of this family.
Me? Ooh, yeah, just part of 2024, I think. I hopped on maybe a little bit after February-ish, maybe.
Well, let's make it all of 2025 and beyond. For those of listening, please stay tuned. We have a couple good episodes for the rest of the year, and then we're taking a break. We're going to shut down right around Thanksgiving. We're going to just be like, yeah, we're done. I might pop up some old episodes just to have something for you pop up on your feed. But we're just going to take a break. We're going to take like 6 weeks off. We've been doing this nonstop. I'll be honest. I've been recording episodes pretty much once a week nonstop since 2020. So, and when I say that, I'm talking like, sure, people will fill in. Thank you for filling in those days that I'm out. But it's been a go. So we're going to take a little break. And then as we come back in 2025, we're excited to just share with you some of the new things. I mean, it'll still be the same show, but we're going to try a couple different things as well. We definitely appreciate your feedback as our listeners, because the show only goes as far as y'all want it to go. So whatever you want to talk about, make sure you comment, or you send us messages, or just put it in the universe and it'll happen. So we appreciate your dedication to listening to the program. So thank you for being a show friend.
I can remember walking around in a park listening to you guys. Like, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I was like, God, these guys are awesome. They're doing such great work. I can't remember what episode I jumped into, or when I started listening to the podcast, but I can remember it very vividly. Walking with Gibbs, chasing rabbits in the park, and just putting an episode on and listening to you guys and stuff like that. So I appreciate what you guys have done and having me on and everything like that. And again, for all the audience, please let us know what you want to listen to. And, if you have anybody that you in particular want to have on, we want to hear from you. At the end of the day, we also want to help you help animals.
Let's do that. And analytics will say that the episode you were listening to is likely the one with Carol Baskin, but I could be wrong. No, I probably wasn't.
No, it was a case. I don't remember specifically what case, but you and Ashley were talking about a case. God, it was a while back.
It's crazy. I should listen to some of these old ones because there's so many, and I don't realize, and I don't know how people listen to podcasts. Like if you just find this, if it just popped up on your Spotify, which we have some pretty good Spotify impressions, like, I don't know if you just start with the most recent one. If you're like, oh, let me look through here and like find one that's interesting. I don't know how that works. So let us know.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people where I'm like, let me just find a title that sounds interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I guess that's kind of what I do. You have outside of, I know you don't want to name ours because that would just be weird, but what is your favorite podcast before we go?
I listen to Distractables. I'm a huge gamer.
Okay.
Like I watch gamers on YouTube, that type of thing. But it's called Distractable. Markiplier and his friends, they're hilarious. So when we go on trips, we listen to Distractables. Shout out Distractables. They're great.
That's cool. I'll have to go with I listen to actually a lot of like they replay sports radio from my hometown on podcasts. That doesn't count because it's not really a podcast, it's just sports radio. It's not embarrassing. People may judge me for it, and that's fine. My favorite podcast is Drink Champs. Shout out to Nori, N-O-R-E, and DJ EFN.
Drink Champs.
Drink Champs. You got to be a hip hop person, though.
I'm an all music person.
All right, bet. It's Nori does a good job. It's cool to see his career revitalized. Like, was he the best rapper? No, but it's a fun podcast. It's a fun podcast. So
drop your favorite podcast below, guys.
Yeah, I'm curious what people's favorite podcast.
Well, yeah, what is everybody else listening to other than us, hopefully?
Yeah, definitely. Right on. Well, thanks again for joining this episode. This is I think this was episode 250, so pretty fun. Okay, well, let's continue to help people.
Help animals.
And